I think you'll find this to be very satisfying.
All right. Is this going to be too loud? Not loud enough. Probably not loud enough. I've never been known to be too loud. Am I right?
It's true. But, we have enough mics in here in a confined enough space. Just when we rub together, it's a bunch of noise.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I try not to.
It can't be helped in an hour-long podcast.
It sure as fuck can't. It's a tight space.
It sure is. It sure is.
A shin show.
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 Playing through Dishonored has given me inspiration.
Some ideas.
You know how in the second one, you can point the heart at people and like tell you secrets about them?
His blood founded this city, but now Custis Pendleton lives only to plunder it.
Yeah.
Like weird abstract tidbits about their life.
You can do that in the first one, too.
His attachment to his twin brother Morgan is not wholesome.
Okay, I didn't know that. I like an idea of some weird object being able to tell you just small,
Yes.
limited number of factoids about someone they would never tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
You
We
spat
really
on
should
her
get back
when-
into
Yeah,
that.
we should.
You know what else we should do? It's like take,
Drugs.
yes, but also a creative writing thing. Neil Gaiman did this fucking whole series, this masterpiece series on writing that I was going to
And
take.
he's the guy who did, that name is familiar.
He did
American-
American Gods. He was half of the author of Good Omens. Did you ever read that?
No, I've never,
Mom
I don't
has
know
my
what
copy.
either one of those things are.
Oh, well, I really like him. He's a young adult author, I would say.
What is American Gods about? Is it nonfiction?
No, it's fiction. It's about the personification of the American gods.
That sounds fucking awesome.
It's an HBO series, I think, too.
What's a god? They're real if you believe in them. So who are you? You wouldn't believe in me if I told you. So what's the plan? War.
I think that one is HBO, and then Good Omens is done on Amazon Prime, I think.
Armageddon is days away, and we've lost the Antichrist.
Good Omens is probably one of my favorite books. It's right up there with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I wanna
It's
read
kind of
that
got.
next.
Have you never read Hitchhiker?
Never. I've only ever heard of
Holy
fantastic
shit.
things about it. Yeah.
It's kind of British humory.
I'm
you
down
know?
with that.
But I'm just saying that's kind of, and they're in the same class. Take that fucking book.
I'm going to.
Instead of reading Harrow again. I mean, not that you shouldn't also read Harrow, but
I tried to make your father watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with me, and I think he fell asleep and didn't really like it, and I was super bummed.
Losing your planet isn't the end of the world.
it looks like he's
thick-
asleep right now.
How thick this book is, it seems like the movie. I remember watching
There's-
the movie when I was a kid.
There's 2 books in there.
I know
2 or
Alan
3.
Rickman is the fat white robot. And
Martin Freeman from Sherlock is the
he's
main
the
character.
guy. Yeah,
is
yes,
the main
he
character.
is. Yes, he is.
And The Hobbit, I guess.
Hey,
If you
Sarah,
want-
something's fucked up with your levels, man. You're too weak.
Me?
Not you.
I think it's when you're looking at Nick.
Stop
How's
looking
that?
at Nick.
Is that better?
That's the point. Never look at Nick again.
Or we should just be on opposite sides of the table because we constantly look at each other when we're talking because that's what a normal human does when they have a conversation with somebody.
That's true.
Is this better?
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is that when Elsie and I are in the sound booth together, we don't really have room to look at each other, so we don't.
That's probably for the best.
You're in a choky type. You're in a Matilda fucking Principal Trunchbull type torture device that you call a sound booth.
It's a little Iron Maiden-ish, I'm not going to lie. There's pokey things right next to me right now.
You get hotboxed frequently.
Those pokey things are simply sound baffles. There's nothing certainly sinister about it.
I should put sound baffling on this wall.
Yeah, you should. That would be just a little thing you could do to make the podcast better.
I didn't know that's what it was called. Sound baffler.
Baffling.
But as a
But,
side
like-
note, I do enjoy hotboxing and then leaving your father in here to do voice funny shit.
Hotboxing flatulence does get you high. It's not in the conventional sense.
Not in a fun sense.
Yeah.
Not in any sense. In fact, and this happened to me just the other night, this is a good time to promote our upcoming D&D podcast, Ask D&D. It's coming soon. You're going to like it. It's very entertaining. But we were recording an episode just the other night when we took a brief break and Elsie walked into the sound booth. I said she walked into the hot box. Well, that's what it became because she farted right as she opened the door and walked in. And I thought that I was already so stinky that the introduction of fresh air made me realize how badly I stank.
So she literally gaslighted you.
Yes! Yes! Now that's not right.
The old fart and switch, we call that.
It happened to me.
Yeah, now all the jokes about it aren't so funny anymore, are they?
No, they're not.
Can I just make an official motion to call it Astoned Podcast? Astoned.
No, there's been a motion to call Ask D&D Astoned. Is there a second?
So does one of y'all second that motion?
You were
What
supposed
motion?
to second, no.
Why do I have to second it?
You don't have
He
to.
passes it. I'll second it. Astoned,
It's
like
Astoned.
destined.
Or destined. Astoned.
So it's-
Typically, there's some kind of destiny aspect.
All right,
Reminds
it
me
is
of
ruled in
Aston.
favor.
Astoned it is. It's official.
I'm sorry, I thought we were in a democracy and not a dictatorship, so I assumed that there would be some sort of discussion and vote.
You
What
just had
happened.
one.
Yeah,
You had two votes.
that literally just happened at your behest.
I have to say, I don't feel like I am allowed to vote for Brad or vote on his behalf, I should say. And I am not in the D&D podcast. So there can only be Brad or I on any podcast. We can't be together in the same space. It's just not allowed.
That's like when you time travel and you can't interact with another version of yourself.
He's technically a gender swap clone of Elsie.
True. Biologically speaking, yes. But
Which is sad because he's a prettier girl.
I'm going to deny that. I don't think that that's true.
Dad, don't.
As I hope you
Stop
would.
talking. Don't even insert yourself into this conversation. It's nothing but bad.
Insert. Ugh. No, you can vote, though, on whether objectively it just rolls off the tongue better, Astoned or D&D.
What really makes me sad to the core of my soul is one day I was fucking around with Noah and came up with the perfect name. And we were both like, yeah, that's perfect. And I've never been able to remember it.
Gone
Lightning
with
in
the
a bottle.
wind. Happens all the time, especially on acid. I
Just
have
like
to say.
a fart in a sound booth. You know, it just happens. It's gone. You're done.
Well,
Well, yeah, the fart in the sound booth is more like
it lingers.
being choked by a fighter or something.
It's
Oh my God.
actually the equivalent of the Sith hand choke. That's what it's really the equivalent
Force
of.
choke.
Exactly. You feel your airways constricting. You feel yourself levitating, but not in a fun way. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to see lights in front of your eyes, and you begin to black out
Through the force.
through the force of farts.
You know what's weird is in the very first Star Wars movie, not chronologically, but
A New Hope.
yeah, it's the whole I find your lack of faith disturbing scene.
Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, or given you clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
What? Why is Darth motherfucking Vader taking orders from any asshole who's
Well,
not the Emperor?
He's probably not really taking orders. It's more of a concession because he is outnumbered.
What? Outnumbered?
Yeah, to the number of officers in whatever on that ship.
If
Also,
Darth
it's
Vader killed every officer on that ship, the Emperor would not give a single flying fuck.
It's Grand Moff Tarkin that gives Darth Vader the old, hey, knock it off. So Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader go all the way back into his Anakin days. They've known each other for decades, and Grand Moff Tarkin is on a level with Vader in the Emperor's eyes. He's the secular side of the Emperor's control, whereas Darth Vader is the Sith side.
Actually, I think I read a fan theory about how with that guy dying in one of the movies represented the last of anybody Vader could possibly have called a friend. And then in the other two movies, he's just choking people to death left and right.
I really thought you were going to say that you read a fan fiction, and I got so excited.
I make my own fan fictions in my head when I go to sleep at night.
Yeah, but if you write them down, you'll get internet points.
That's so important.
Yeah, internet points. What can you use these internet points for?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway,
What portion do you think of like fan fiction isn't sexual?
There's a whole tag for that.
can we get a percentage?
I actually could get you a percentage
Like,
if you really
of
want.
all fan fiction.
I don't know about all fan fiction, but the archive has
If we
a
put
lot.
them all in the same group here, the same pot, all fan fiction, what
Is
percentage?
not sexual? Probably about 20.
Some fan fiction is so atrocious. The only ones I ever see are the ones that become memes.
Yes.
And then you have
However-
to wonder, like, are they in on the joke? Are they laughing at us,
A lot of
laughing
them are-
at them? Or is this genuine?
Some of them are kids. Well, not all unprofessional. I follow quite a few actual professional authors who then also do fan fiction.
They do
But,
fan fiction and it's so highly acclaimed they become authors.
or they're self-published authors, or they're actual published authors, and they started in fan fiction.
There was a girl on Reddit writing prompts. I used to read writing prompts all the time. There's this, I assume it's a girl. Her Reddit handle was Luna Lovewell. And she would always have like the top rated. So now she wrote a book about what if the Roman Empire had never
Fan fiction is
fell.
and writing prompts, which is the same thing. It's creative writing, is a great exercise to practice your craft.
Really cool.
I have to say, when you said Luna Lovewell, I could have sworn this was going to be erotic Harry Potter fiction.
I know.
So true.
That's in her closet.
I'm sure she's got some
And the-
hot erotica. Fan
That's for
fiction,
sure.
/sex, /Lois from Family Guy, /
I always see those Lois from Family Guy, like hentai ads.
Why though? What's the appeal?
What's the appeal of any cartoon character? What's the appeal
Yeah.
of someone in a fursuit?
Please don't. Furries
not
freak me out
shaming.
so bad.
Hey, don't kink shame.
I'm not kink shaming, but they squick me.
Getting back to the whole issue of fan fiction, you know, the lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey in that series of novel, she started out as fan fiction.
Don't fucking get me started.
And that's basically 99% pornography.
Well, it's erotica. Whatever.
Classier than pornography.
It's classier than pornography because it ends in an A rather than a Y.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like a Victorian housewife's dog whistle word for porn in novel form.
Yeah,
porn without visual.
That's all it is. It's written porn.
Yeah, that's what erotica is. It's a dog whistle term used by...
Well, that's because women would be beaten severely
Well,
if they were caught to be sexual.
or reading.
That too.
Yeah, and you combine them, it's a double threat. But you got to be careful on the internet. You know, sometimes on the internet, not everything is what it seems. Did you kids know that?
You mean people get on the internet and tell lies?
Yeah, what do you think? People just get on and lie? What would anyone have to gain from doing that?
Well, it turns out in Japan, there was this 50-year-old fella who wasn't getting the kind of action that he wanted to see on his Instagram account. So using deepfake technology, which is available through a simple website, he ran some pictures through this deepfake website so that instead of a 50-year-old Japanese man, he appeared to be a 20-year-old Japanese girl. And it turns out that visual was a lot more appealing on Instagram than the visual of him as a 50-year-old dude, so he just rolled with it. But eventually he was found out, and he admitted his sin.
I thought that was Korea.
This was Japan.
What the fuck is a 50-year-old doing on Instagram? What do you mean you're not getting what you want out of it? Like,
Turning his brain to ooze.
it's a millennial platform. Just let it die.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can be banned if you're over a certain age. I'm just saying you're trying too hard.
Yeah, if you're like 50 and over, go to the boomer graveyard that is Facebook.
They're from Facebook.
Wait, are they?
Actually,
From
they were
Facebook?
their own thing, and then Facebook bought them out because they were getting too popular.
That's
Isn't
a
it
fact.
crazy how Facebook and Google now and a few other tech companies now have the resources to essentially, like if they wanted, they could accumulate the largest standing army in the world if they wanted to do that.
No, they
That's
couldn't.
why they're trying to break them
No,
up.
they couldn't.
Why?
They couldn't afford it. They couldn't. You know how much
It is a lot. It's tens of billions of dollars a year.
Try hundreds.
Yeah.
I used
It's
to.
not that they could have an army. It's that they have control of so much of our data and they're propaganda machines.
They
They're
influence the
influencers.
reasons why we need an army.
Actually, what they have is better than an army. They just have enough money to make the guys with the armies.
No, we spend, about $750 billion a year on defense. Now, of that, a good portion, let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's say that $300 billion of that is on personnel. It's not quite that, but let's say that it is. Well, we're spending $300 billion on personnel, salaries, medical, dental, the like. And then, we're spending another $400 billion on this, that, and the other, the weapons, the hardware, all of the logistics that go into getting things, all the base support. It's really expensive to have a global footprint like we have.
You said it's hundreds of billions. Like, do you know?
750.
Now, here's the real question. Do you believe that's an accurate figure?
No,
Do you believe it's that little?
no, because on its face, it does not include the $250 billion or so that we spend on Veterans Affairs, which is what happens afterwards.
I mean, obviously, you would be the expert on this, but I've just heard that America doesn't always treat its veterans very well.
This is a subject that's so complex, you could spend 1 million podcasts dissecting the Veterans Affairs Administration, right?
I guess what I'm saying is, do you think the $250 billion is being spent wisely?
I would say this. The portion of it that is being spent to take care of me is being spent exceptionally wisely.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Yeah, it's hard for us to complain about the Veterans Administration in this household. Although that said, I grew up with my dad fighting the Veterans Administration his whole life because he had a debilitating car accident when he was in the Navy and they never gave him full disability for it, and he's never really been able to work properly since. And so it's been like a long, agonizing experience in some people's cases. and then it's not that in others. And there's not a great explanation for why other than get your paperwork done early and often.
It's such a large bureaucracy. People's individual experience is going to vary widely. Mine's been great.
You know what else, though? You also have both your legs.
True.
So if I was a quadriplegic or paraplegic, do you think I'd be treated worse?
Maybe. It'd be harder to fill out all that paperwork so often and so early.
I think the more services you need, the harder. It's one of those uphill battle type things.
Yeah, the less inclined they are to.
I don't even know if it's about them. I think it's just the more you use a thing, you'd think it'd be easier, but...
You know what's boring? More boring than anything?
Ruminating on a fake veteran's possible paperwork.
On the bureaucracy of establishing medical and financial stability through
the Veterans Affairs Administration. Yeah.
You know, it is an interesting question, though.
What?
You think the Siths ever get freaky with that Force joke? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Oh, for sure. Well,
I bet they could use the Force in ways where something as rudimentary as just choking with the Force. They could probably just make the bust like, you know, you just, as soon as you bust, you're busting through the Force. Like, you're everywhere at once in the universe for a second, busting through all living creatures, you know, something like that. The Force choke, sure, that's baby Padawan shit. But, like, once you've been fucking around with the Force for 900 years like Master Yoda, he can probably bust through the balls of several creatures at once across the galaxy. I'm just guessing here.
You are just guessing because everyone knows that the Jedi are asexual.
No, they're not. You're allowed to have sex as a Jedi. You're just not supposed to be married. You're not supposed to have someone you care about, an attachment to this physical plane.
And also, let's not confuse asexuality and celibacy.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, yeah, Jedi can get their fuck on.
Well, I
think it's all good.
I never saw it. I didn't see any Jedi getting their fuck on. In fact, I never saw any Jedi even going to the bathroom.
You never read enough fan fiction then.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You're not on the right sites, my dude.
Yeah, or you haven't been to Pornhub. Holy fuck. You know how many parodies there are? Good Lord.
Yeah. Parodies. They dress a little person in green. And I guarantee you that's happened. I promise you that. And without having seen it, I promise you there is a Star Wars porn parody wherein a little person is done cosmetically up like Yoda and fucking someone.
Without having seen it, sure.
Maybe another Yoda. Yes.
Sure.
Do you know what Rule 34 is?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I'm the one educating you on fucking fan fiction concepts. Where do you think the rules come from?
Any asshole who has read it knows what, or just has been on the internet for longer than 10 years, knows what Rule 34 is.
I don't know what Rule 34 is, and I've been on the internet half my life.
I do, which is if you can imagine any kind of pornography, it exists.
Oh,
well, it's
yeah.
not that necessarily. It's that anything that exists has pornography made of it. If there is something that exists, there's porn of it.
Okay, that sounds like a reasonable rule. However,
don't believe me? Google Tony Soprano Rule 34.
Why would you do
See
this?
what happens.
Why would you do that?
Google Mother Teresa Rule 34. See what happens. I promise you. Google live action little person dressed up as Yoda fucking another Yoda creature. Rule 34.
I don't think you'd need to put Rule 34 after that particular description.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That's a little redundant.
But I will have the research department get right on it as long as they don't think it'll give their computer
You're
a
just
virus.
casting a wider net is all.
All right, here we go.
No!
All right, sighs and unzips. Cracks open a Red Bull, sighs and unzips.
I don't want to know the results. I want to unsubscribe from the study.
Usually you just finish, but you know. That's...
Yeah.
Oh.
Through the Force.
No.
A true Jedi can bust without any movement whatsoever.
Do we have literally anything fucking else to talk about, guys?
You bet we do. Hey, listen, we have my favorite topic to talk about, which is another false religion. Now, I know you're thinking, but they're all false, Dad. That's what you've taught me. And it's true. They all are false. But this one is more falser than others. It's called the Church of the Angelic Masters. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. It's actually the Church of the Master Angels. But for our purposes, we can just switch it around to the Church of the Angelic Masters.
I mean, that's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I feel like.
Let me guess. These masters are all white, about 6 foot, blonde hair, blue eyes?
I don't really know. Here's what I know for sure, though. One of my favorite gymnasts of all time, Michaela Maroney. Remember her from 2012?
No.
Michaela,
no, of course.
Oh, come on, man.
Why is she your famous gym? Describe to me the ways in which she is superior to other gymnasts.
Yes.
Well, she had a picture with Barack Obama.
I know who you're talking about. I remember that meme of that girl like looking real pissed off, and then she did the same face with Barack Obama. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Although I don't remember her face or what she looked like at all. I just remember that I saw that.
There's actually research that shows that coming in second is worse than coming in third, psychologically speaking.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you come in third, you got drubbed. You got soundly beat by at least 2 people.
Exactly.
But second, it was right there.
Exactly.
You tasted it.
That's exactly right.
Second is worse than third.
Now back to our research department. Noah, what did you find out about whatever it was that I asked you to research?
This is going to be upsetting. At least it was upsetting to me looking at it. There's 2 videos I can find dealing with Yoda in all of the internet porn. Okay, one of them, he's wearing like a hat with floppy ears, okay, and painted his face green. And he's wearing a sort of Jedi robe, okay, but like from the waist down, it's just a white dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they didn't paint his legs or dick green?
They didn't paint any other part of
It
him
wasn't
green.
body
They couldn't at least make it green in post?
I don't think the
it's
budget
not-
was that high.
They're not using a lot of CGI in this, is what I'm getting.
That would have been so
So-
awesome if like they painted his legs, everything but his dick and balls green.
So it's funny you mentioned CGI, right? So first off, that first one was Leia. It wasn't another Yoda. But the CGI one, okay, is a random human and it's supposed to be Yoda, okay, but it looks just like a random goblin.
Wait,
I bet you could find a lot of goblin porn and just pretend.
sure. Well, you don't need to pretend. We found 2, not 1, but 2 examples of Yoda porn out there.
Thanks,
I
guys.
told you.
I appreciate your efforts, Noah.
Was it exactly as I foretold? No. But is the essence there? Yes.
Oh, it's got essence.
I'm not going to give you credit for this. There was not a wide variety of Yoda porn. As a result, though, I think we have identified a clear-cut market opportunity.
Oh, I was
No.
just about to say,
Fucking
I'm
hell.
sure we can do this better. We can
You guys-
screenwrite and direct.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I will not be participating in this.
Star Wars Yoda
I
prawn.
staunchly refuse.
So I made a terrible mistake, gang.
Oh, God.
So I looked up goblin porn. Let me tell you, don't ever do that. For the love of God, spare yourself.
Why?
Yeah, you got to throw that computer out now.
Oh, he's got a
It's-
new kink.
It's scarring. No, that's just tranny porn. Anyway, so yeah,
You
no,
saw the goblin porn and was like, this better not awaken anything in me.
sometimes you gotta know. You know, I have 2 buddies who are furries, and one of them was like, you gotta check out this furry website. And I was like, well,
So why do I gotta check out this phrase? Is it going to convert me to furryism?
I needed to know, damn it. I needed to know.
No, I get that.
And what
And
did you find out?
I'm definitely not into the furry stuff. It creeps me out,
Is it-
honestly.
does-
You know.
It's squicky.
I've
to me.
heard. Can we talk about squicky here? What is that?
So,
When did you start saying it?
well, it's a fan fiction term.
Ugh,
So you know kinks, right?
sure.
A squick is the opposite of that. It's like
Ugh.
it's just like it's not for you.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
feet things are
Yeah,
just
I get
they
it.
squick me. It's not for me.
Yeah. So you would not get along with known pedophile Dan Schneider.
Well, no, I'd probably want to choke him with my bare hands.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
All right, so look, the Church of the Master Angels is led by, quote, Master
What?
John Douglas, who claims he can cure cancer. It's elite
And is
courses.
definitely not fucking any of his followers. For sure, not fucking anyone.
No, certainly not. Its elite courses cost $10,000.
sweet Christ, we were in the
Bloody hell.
wrong business.
Does it say how many members there are?
It doesn't say how many, but it does include some prominent members, including Michaela Maroney.
Poor girl.
It's just sad. Here she is. She's already been abused by this Larry Nasser character in the most horrific way imaginable, and now she's setting herself up again for further abuse.
I mean, it makes total sense. You've been abused as a young girl your whole life
Yeah.
while you're being forced to perform like a little fucking monkey, only the best fucking little monkey ever. Yeah, you're going to have some deep-rooted issues in which you're trying to find some sort of answer which religion offers.
So come, Michaela, leave the Church of the Master Angels and find solace in the Church of Universal Energy and the infinite multiverse. Here you'll
Yeah.
find for just $5,000 that we'll provide all of the solace that you can handle and so much more.
Michaela, there's a universe somewhere where you won gold.
And if there's any other Olympic female gymnasts or male, if there's any other former Olympic gymnasts who are struggling to find their way in life, I would love to offer personal counseling, private counseling sessions in my one-on-one, just so we can really connect
therapy.
On a spiritual level. And then maybe
group therapy.
If you have some friends, we can move on to group therapy. That works best sometimes for just everyone to go completely family style on each other. And I mean that in a therapeutic and
we will not
professional
explain
way.
that.
I don't know how I feel about you encouraging sexual activity as a release.
Whoa. Nobody said anything about anything sexual. Now, look, whatever happens between 2 to 5 consenting adults in a room with baby cameras, maybe not, is whatever happens. But what I'm offering is spiritual counseling and guidance to another plane of existence. I'm not saying that I'm going to cure you. I'm not saying I'm going to fix you. All I'm saying is that I'm awake now. And if you want, I can awaken you too, sexually.
That'll be $5,000.
I mean, it is a shame, though. But I'm glad that you've invited not just female but male Olympians. I have to say, son, I did not realize that you swung that way. No judgment. Noah will tell you I'm not judgmental or homophobic.
Closeted homophobe.
Yeah, I do.
Homophobe. That's a full circle.
Internalized homophobia. Let's give him a little credit.
Internalized hatred which turns into homophobia.
I have 2 things to say to this. One is, Dad, do you remember asking me repeatedly in the car, hey, are you gay? Do you remember that? And I was just like,
if you're gay, you have to tell me that. You know,
right now.
That's the law. Otherwise, it's entrapment. If your dad is gay, he has to tell you or it's entrapment. I read that online.
Second of all.
By the way, the answer is no, I don't recall that.
I figured not because it was traumatic for me, so that clearly means you have no memory of it. Second of all.
You traumatized yourself by asking your own father if he was gay repeatedly?
He asked me in the car
I thought you were
repeatedly.
saying you asked him.
No.
That's why I said if your dad is gay.
I thought you were just turning it around because you're being a dick.
No, I completely misheard. Okay.
No, that's he tried to yank my coming out of me.
Sorry, I thought you were ready.
You decided you were ready.
No, it was a whole thing. He did decide that. And I just said no repeatedly because I'm not gay.
You're right.
And then, what was the second thing? Oh, you don't have to be bi to fucking appreciate an Olympic athlete, man. Come on.
Second off, I just assumed there would be somebody else within the administrative branch of a Shinsho who would like to counsel the male gymnast. I'm just
We are all qualified as our levels in the church allow us.
Yeah. I've got the credentials. I'm bona fide.
Now, that is true. You have both written, taken, and administered the $5,000 course.
Yes, many times. We've gone out to the desert with our clients, gotten into the sweat lodge, did the old sweat and squeeze. Oh, speaking of which, how about the lady who just died?
You're talking about Jessica Walter.
Jessica Walter, yeah. Archer's mom.
You and your erection. And why are there donuts everywhere?
Lana did that.
Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants.
Lucille Bluth in Arrested Development.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
Said she died at 80 years old in her sleep in her New York home.
That's very unfortunate. You know who else who died?
Who?
Beverly Cleary, the author of such renowned children's classics as Ribsy and Beezus and Ramona the Pest.
I thought she was also the Babysitter's Club.
That sounds 1,000,000,000% made up, all those things you just said. Rhesus, Beezy, and Ramona the Pest.
Peter is correct, Sarah is incorrect, and also Larry McMurtry, the writer of Terms of Endearment, Lonesome Dove, numerous books that were turned into movies, died on the same day. So 2 great American authors.
And on an episode in which we discussed erotic fan fiction. How fitting.
How poetic.
Also, that's how they got their start.
She told me to text Grandpa, but I'm like...
Do you even have Grandpa's number?
First off, no. Second off, I feel like a text would be a little...
What are we talking about here?
Our grandpa's brother died yesterday.
Who, Eric?
Yeah.
Now, I know Eric, and I don't know why you're bringing this up now, but I remember your mother saying to me, Eric's been married 5 times. Now, this was in 1988.
Okay, well, he's dead now, and Mom told me I should text Grandpa, and I was just like, that seems like it would not be appropriate.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to text Grandma and be like, hey, Grandma, tell Grandpa I'm thinking of him.
Include me in that text. Say, hey.
Nick and I.
Nick's right here next to me.
Looking over my shoulder as I type this.
Yeah, he's typing with one thumb, and I'm typing with the other. We are typing together.
In synergy.
That we
are thinking
of you.
So your mother told me this in preparation to go over to Eric's place.
like you needed a little bit, a nice, cool piece of trip. Hey, Eric, Pete Shen, nice to meet you. Heard you've been married 5 times, you old dog.
Right.
That's all I know about you.
Well, no, that wasn't all I knew, because your mother also told me that one of the women that Eric had married, he'd married her because she, quote, gave a great blowjob, close quote.
Great, thanks. I did not need to have that piece of trivia when I go to the funeral. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
please
Thanks.
think of that as you see his stiff body.
Giving a great blowjob in the 1930s just meant any blowjob at all, I'm guessing.
This is not the
Hi,
30s.
honey, you suck a mighty fine pecker there. Let's get in my Ford Model A and go to Makeout Point.
Oh, Grandpa still has that
Okay,
Model
I'm
A.
being so disrespectful right now. I'm sorry. Let's move on. I'm being incredibly disrespectful.
Just because Eric had a car from the 1930s does not mean that he grew up in the 1930s.
Well, was he alive in the 1930s? Could he have been? Probably.
He might have been born in like 39. Sounds about right.
Summer of 39. We got into my Model A Ford. And she put my penis in her mouth for 5 seconds, and I said, I'm going to marry you.
What the fuck? Why do you think that people, 90 years ago were less sexual than they are now?
Because they were.
No, they
Come
were not.
on. All right.
No, they were not.
At least they were more secret about it, which honestly
Maybe.
probably made it hotter. Because you would be burned at the stake if they found out you ate
In
ass,
1930?
You know? Yeah. Or they would hang you or draw and quarter you for eating ass in the
Hanging,
30s.
maybe. And you're only going to get drawn and quartered if you're black.
Well, yeah, or eating ass, or a witch.
No.
Or gay, or the devil,
Gay, maybe.
which is wrapped up in the
I
devil.
find myself speaking to your mother, my ex-wife Cindy, for the second pod in a row, and saying, sorry for your loss. My condolences. Sincerely.
Mother, if you're listening, please never, ever, ever. Not that you would.
Oh, God. What if Grandma listens to this shit?
She might disown me.
There's no fucking way, right?
No.
Sue's sent me a few notes.
Why would you do this? Why would you do this? I'm going to have to call her. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So the question is, why don't you just call your grandpa?
Oh, we don't do that.
Yeah, he's not.
We're not
talkative. It would be so weird.
We're not close like that.
It would be so weird to call him. Like, what would I even say on the phone to this strange man? I don't know. Literally, every time Grandpa has ever talked to me, here's what he says. He says, have you ever thought about running away and joining the circus?
You know what?
That's it.
Grandpa texted me happy birthday, and I said, thanks. I'm now old enough to run in my own circus.
Yeah. Or he'll be like, have you ever thought about getting into petty crime?
Yeah.
Stealing from your family first is usually the best way to start.
Which is hilarious, given his children's propensity for stealing from him.
And then we go back and forth like that for I'd say 45 seconds, truly.
And then he ambles off.
Yeah, and then he walks off. And I'm like, okay. And that's been the breadth of my interactions with my grandpa.
And it should be noted that you have lived in Nebraska in close proximity to him for 23 of your 25 years.
I lived with Grandpa for a year.
I've always enjoyed it. I like those exchanges.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just not deep.
Yeah, it's just not deep. And it's like, if I called him, literally, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, I'm sorry. And he'd be like, yeah, it's all right. Have you considered joining the circus? Have you stolen any cars lately?
Well, great talking to you, Grandpa. Click.
Yeah. Grandma's the talker.
My grandpa doesn't talk much either, so I hear that.
He's dead, isn't he?
Yeah, he's dead.
Sorry.
I need a boo button.
Who besides myself is outraged about the Georgia lawmakers passing some bullshit law that you can't give water and food to people trying to vote? So in fucking Arizona, it's illegal not to give people water if they ask for water. What kind of horseshit is this?
Voter suppression horseshit.
I've heard it's illegal.
That's all it is.
Everywhere, anywhere in the United States to refuse someone water. I thought if someone walks into a business, says, I'm thirsty, I need water, you have to give it to them no matter what.
This is a little different. This is attempts by the Georgia Republican legislature to make sure that the next election, if it's close, that Republicans win. Because Republicans realize one thing, and they'll tell this to your face. It's well reported. I'm not reporting anything groundbreaking, which is this. The fewer the people who vote, the more likely a Republican wins.
Why is that?
Because the poor working class, which makes up the majority of America, votes in their best interest, which is typically Democratic.
How does that correlate to the numbers of voters?
Because the number of the working class is greater than the number of the non-working class. So the more people who vote, just percentage of population, you're going to have more poor people than you are rich people.
You'll have people who can't wait in line for 8 hours to vote because they're going to be thirsty.
One way to make sure that the line doesn't last for 8 hours is to make sure that people who show up get turned away because they don't have a picture ID. That's what Jim Crow was all about. The path of democracy is towards more and greater voting rights, not less.
I actually read today, this morning, as I was lounging in bed for 4 hours. You know how people try to say that the fucking Civil War wasn't about slavery? Or like secession wasn't about slavery? It's all about slavery.
Yeah,
But then they were also talking about how this all started in 2016 because the whole bit about people tearing down Confederate monuments and how they tried to say like, that's
our heritage. You're destroying our heritage.
But monuments,
hey, your heritage sucks.
Well, yes. And also you're an American.
And it's pathetic and you should be ashamed.
Yeah. But also monuments we choose those. So by choosing to keep Confederate monuments, all you're doing is keeping the idea of the Confederacy alive. Tear them down.
Same thing with the Confederate flag. People,
yes.
Although, who was it? Roy Wood Jr. He's like, I think we should keep the Confederate flag around so that way I know a dangerous white person from a mile away.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true.
But like any argument someone tries to make about Confederate statues or the Confederate honestly, it should be treasonous to wave a Confederate flag around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those people, they committed the ultimate treason. A civil war is the ultimate treason, is it not? Right. And you failed and you lost bad. And then like that kind of paraphernalia, as far as American history goes, obviously it's nowhere near the genocide of the Jews, but it should be like in the same kind of mentality of like how Germany's not cool with Nazi shit.
That's exactly what he was saying.
Yeah, we should not be cool with Confederate shit.
And let's not minimize the impact of chattel slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah,
in terms of its genocidal impact. I think that when you take a look at the lives lost in the African slave trade and the lives destroyed, and frankly, the deleterious effect that it has had and continues to have on our nation. It's still a cancer and a rot at the core of our nation that we have never fully dealt with. This issue of slavery and of racism. That is a part and parcel of it. So I'm for more voting rights. That's the bottom line. And I think what happened in Georgia, to answer your question, Elsie, is an absolute travesty that I am hopeful the courts will rectify.
There's been a civil rights lawsuit.
Yeah, man, it's going to happen. I feel confident. The courts will step in.
Talking again about this guy that I'm reading, it's very interesting. And then also he had an opinion piece on why America is so obsessed with World War II as opposed to like the Civil War.
Because it proved we had the biggest exploding weenie.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gotten through.
I mean, that's what it is. Like
this piece.
We ended the war.
I don't know. I just think the Civil War is more interesting because, like Dad said, slavery and shit is still so central to our way of life that we don't even, I mean, what is the prison system but a modern fucking slave trade?
Like sometimes when you just say things out loud, you're like, this is insane.
Right.
For-profit prisons.
That's slavery.
Is that not the ultimate slippery slope when someone makes money off the imprisonment of someone else?
Yeah.
How does that not incentivize you to ensure that the laws are made in such a way to keep people in prison so that you have an army of slaves?
Yeah, it's slavery.
Yeah, and it is. And, you know, it just blows my mind that any Confederate anything was ever allowed. Like, that's a dark stain on our country's history. Like,
but we've washed it in such a way that
the South has.
How many Confederate flags do you see driving around fucking Omaha? Enough.
Above zero. It ain't none.
On this subject of how for-profit prisons continue to punish people of color, you should see the Netflix documentary 13th from 2016.
1 out of 4 human beings with their hands on bars, shackled, in the world are locked up here in the land of the free.
We now have more African Americans under criminal supervision than all the slaves back in the 1850s.
I'm only human after all, don't put the blame on me.
Yeah.
Although
I haven't seen it. I know what he's talking
Seemed
about.
like you had there.
It just highlights the blatant and obvious continued racism that's embedded into our prison system and into our criminal justice system. And there's been some changes since that film was made in 2016, but we have still the highest rate of incarceration of any nation in the world. Us, the home of the free and the land of the brave. It ain't right.
Abolish the federal prison system. Abolish prisons.
Well,
anyway,
no, don't abolish prisons, but certainly
for-profit prisons.
For-profit prisons, yes. And let's take a look at what actually works in terms of prison rehabilitation versus some of these state joints, man. They are dangerous fucking places that you don't want to go. Full stop, because they are literal hellholes.
Yeah.
That's
and on
not
top
right.
of that, dude, they're run by gangs. It's not like law rules there. There's still drugs. There's still prostitution. There's still killings. There's still murders. It's just run by the gangs. The guards are in on it, and it don't matter because everybody's making fucking money. And at that point, it's like...
You really think that that's not going to exist in a federal-run prison, though?
It's not a matter of federal or state.
Right,
it's a matter of for-profit or whatever, non-profit is.
Well, but
it's like as long as someone is making money off people being imprisoned, and they're making a lot of money. It ain't a little bit. It's a lot. That means they have the money required to lobby to these legislators. And this is something that, who started the war on drugs? Was it Nixon or Reagan?
Nixon.
Nixon. Nixon's one of his advisors. I don't remember his name. I'm sure if I said it, you'd know who he is.
John Ehrlichman, who is his chief of staff.
Yes, that's right. That's correct. We couldn't make it illegal to be black. We couldn't make it illegal for you to be a hippie. So what we did is we associated
those things with drugs.
Yeah, we made drugs illegal. Made it this big bad thing. Associated black people with cocaine and crack, hippies with marijuana, which will turn you black and make you kill and rape women and like jazz.
Exactly.
And bada bing, bada boom. You know what I mean? This is how it's so easy to manipulate the system. And like I said, you say these things out loud and you can just see on its face that it's wrong.
I have two things to say to that. One, that's how propaganda works, and that's how you know it works.
Sure. Yeah.
And two, I'm just not convinced that eradicating for-profit prisons won't still perpetuate the same problems, maybe not to the same level in a non-profit prison.
It would be a different problem because, people would still somebody would find a way to make money off it, even if it's not profit, but it would be it'd be harder. You'd have to take more, it would be a much more roundabout way to the point where whoever the bad guy is in this situation might just find some other fucking racket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More to the point, it is the responsibility of government to provide this service.
Yeah.
It's not
That's true.
That's the bottom line. It's the responsibility of government to provide rehabilitation and incarceration for criminals. That's it. It's not the job of some private company.
Yeah, and it's also, my main point. Like, when you get rewarded for people being enslaved in your compound, and that's what it is, then there's the problem. There's going to be problems. Maybe the very first for-profit prison was all on the up and up. Maybe, but how long is it? Is it all, this shit is just going to be milked for bad things.
Not only have I seen Orange is the New Black, but I know it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Some literature I would recommend for this is the new
Penthouse.
Sure.
Hustler.
The New Jim Crow.
The New Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm. It's a book.
James.
Obviously, or
James
I wouldn't have said
Raven.
literature.
Should have been called James Raven.
The New Jim Crow, James Raven. Working title. That's the Netflix knockoff of it.
Jim Crow 2, James Raven.
Anyway, so I watched Seaspiracy Friday night because Nick didn't want to come over and watch Pirates of the Caribbean, so I had to go to the next best thing.
Like I didn't want to. I just had work.
Yeah, we're not allowed to eat seafood anymore, gang.
But I love seafood.
Yeah,
and it's good for you. And I actually just spent $40 on sushi before I came over.
That has nothing to do with this, with your opinion, right?
Dude, that sushi place in Bellevue, it's called, Umami's. That's what it's called. They have this Omaha beef barbecue sushi roll. Okay. And at first you're like, what? And then you eat it and you're like, oh yeah, this is how I like my sushi. So
with
good.
Beef?
Dude, I know. Try it. It's
okay,
good.
I will. Maybe.
Well,
anyway, but the whole point is everybody should watch this. It's 90 minutes.
If you're getting in the way of their business, you are risking your own life.
The slaughter of these dolphins is a reaction to the overfishing that's happening.
But basically, the guy was like, like everybody else, I saw the whole straw shoved up the sea turtle's nose and became a plastic warrior, and then decided to do some research on it, right? And
it turns out
organizations that are commonly associated with handling this problem in a humane way are actually huge fucking assholes who are raping the sea worse than anyone else.
Not only raping the sea, but there's a huge slave trade associated with fishing.
Sure.
So we're not allowed to eat seafood anymore.
Sick.
It's like the coral reefs are dying, okay? Mm-hmm. there's actually a lot of evidence that suggests that it's not just global warming that's contributing to that. It's overfishing because it fucks up the food chain and
it's an ecosystem.
Yeah. And so we are killing the fucking coral reefs.
This happens every time. Like when birds are fucking with farmers' crops or bugs. Like if you take one species out of the ecosystem, it has
fucks everything up.
Insane, unforeseeable consequences that fuck everything up.
Yeah. The documentary started off where he's like, I was anti-plastic everything. Then I started to follow the money, and then I started to question like sustainable fishing. And so he goes to Japan where there's this huge problem with whale, because he likes whales. So he's tracking down why
a whale furry.
Oh, a whaley, we call those.
A fleshy,
a squishy.
So what happened?
So he followed the money, and then he realized
he followed the money and saw some horrific shit. And like he was chased by cops. He couldn't film in any place, and just a whole bunch of shit.
So there was obviously a large effort to make sure that this knowledge was not made.
Yeah,
public.
but it starts off there, and then it just escalates. You know. So then he talks to this fucking label. So like if you look on tuna,
it says dolphin
it says
safe.
It's dolphin safe. Do you know what the fuck that means?
It means that
shit.
It's safe to assume that you're eating dolphin.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
What is the point of that label at all?
The point of that label, it belongs to a nonprofit organization, okay, that tries to ensure that no dolphins were harmed in the catching of this fish.
Tuna.
Fishing. Like it's on other.
But they are though. I mean, you're taking food out of their mouth every time.
It does it's not. It's worse. It's worse than that.
Yeah, best case scenario.
There are about 30,000 dolphins killed because they get caught in the nets
and shit,
or fishers just kill them.
Yeah,
because
for fun.
Well, they're in the way. So the guy asks the
dolphins are sick ass creatures, though. I mean, they're really fucked up and weird and rapey and murderous.
Doesn't fucking matter.
It matters a little.
No, it doesn't because they're doing their shit in their fucking ecosystem. Like,
anyway, I mean, it's worth mentioning. Is all I'm saying.
Whatever, dude. He asked the guy, "How do you make sure that your stuff is dolphin safe?" And he's like, "Oh, well, we have reporters on we have observers on these
that
boats.
Are on our payroll.
So yes,
unbiased.
That's exactly what it is. It's so then he followed the money.
It's like when a cop shoots someone to death who's completely unarmed, and the police station releases a statement that says, "Yeah, we investigated ourselves. We investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing every time." Yeah. So.
Anyway, I thought it would just be something stupid. You know, I was just putting it on in the background or whatever, and it was really good.
I can get why you would think it's stupid because it's called Seaspiracy
instead of conspiracy.
Yeah.
With the C in conspiracy spelled SEA, but it's not that. It's Seaspiracy. Well,
yeah.
You should have workshopped the title a little bit. I think we can all agree with that. But I do have to say this, that I'm probably not going to give up all seafood, but I will give up eating dolphin.
No, you won't.
Dolphin fin soup.
How can you know?
Would you try dolphin?
No.
In a magical scenario where it was like all good.
Sure.
Like a little dolphin meat, would you try it?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll
try.
Meat you wouldn't try? Let's name off the meats you wouldn't try. You wouldn't try? I think
we have done this bit so many times on this show. I don't understand.
At what point do we get to the part about human eating?
It happens. It's happened. We've discussed it.
This is all just so much preamble to get to when are we going to eat human flesh?
And
in what situation would it be okay?
Actually, this is the preamble to the biggest news of the week, which is New York State. The assembly there has finally passed legal marijuana legislation. Hooray, New York.
You know what's crazy is they had like apps where you could get weed and cocaine delivered to your door, like to your apartment. This girl I knew, like, she's like, yeah, I live in New York. I just order weed on my phone. I'm like, but it's illegal there, right? She's like, yeah, but like, they're cool. And I'm like, how does like a cop not just be like, hey, I'd like to order weed to my house, please. And coke too. You're doing coke. I'm like, whoever has so much money
and confidence
that they have hired a team to develop an app for you to sell your cocaine. That's breaking through to the other side. You're making money now. Money.
Sarah, you could develop such an app easily, couldn't you?
Sure.
Oh, by the way, you need to finish that website of yours. The rest of the fucking recipe. Taylor told me to say that.
Yeah, you do need to finish that because Elsie
she's getting frustrated.
Elsie has sent me a couple of recipes in this past week. I know what you're saying. You're saying, so what? Big deal. Well, I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and immediately thought, where's the fucking recipe in these
Where the
links?
fuck
Yeah,
is
it
the
always
recipe?
starts off with like a fable and then like a story of the author of the recipe in their hometown drinking from a well.
I do have good news for you guys.
Yes.
It's called wherethefuckistherecipe.com. It's up, and you can submit links that I will then scrape and put up on my website.
Nice.
So there you go.
Nice. Where
Where the fuck is the recipe?
Where the fuck is the recipe.com?
Where do we send these recipes to?
There's like a submit a new recipe page.
You better watch the fuck out. I'm going to give you a lot of work. I'm looking at recipes right now.
I assume you've automated this process.
You would be correct.
Oh, okay. So we just send you a link. You automatically scrape it and post it. True or false?
Well, there's a few more steps, but that's what I'm going for. Yes.
How would you monetize this? Could it be like if
I would put ads on the website?
Yeah.
And or put a link to buy me a coffee. That's it.
That was so smart. People started saying, buy me a coffee. Then it's like, instead of give me money,
Yeah,
it's
buy
like,
me a
buy
coffee.
me a coffee, but it's like, they're just giving you money for coffee.
Exactly.
Which, yeah, it's smart. Like,
Money laundering scheme.
Sure. Also, how did taxes work on that kind of stuff?
If you make over a certain dollar amount, then you have to report it for taxes.
Over what period of time?
A year. And it's not that
The
much
fiscal
that
year.
you have to report.
Maybe it's just after a certain number you get taxed or whatever.
But like, if you're 16 years old and you over the summer start a lawn mowing business, you charge $10 to mow a lawn. You mow 10 lawns, you get $100 a month. You need to report that.
Actually, Sarah's correct. There is some number. It's like $150 or $200 or $500. I think it's actually $500. If you make less than $500, you don't have to report it. But if you make more than $500, you do.
That's probably capped differently in every state, or is that a federal
That's
thing?
a federal thing.
That's a federal thing.
$500, really?
We don't know.
What am
Somewhere
I?
around there.
Do I look like a fucking accountant to you?
Research department.
Yes. You do have the look of an
Let's take
accountant.
bets. How much do we think it is?
I'm going to say $20,000.
Oh, no way. Fuck.
It's
Are you
way,
thinking-
way lower than that. It's
Way
$500
lower.
bucks, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was 1,500.
Research department.
And your answer is $600.
Oh, shit.
I was close.
So, okay.
I bet it used to be 500.
Yeah, I'm sure you were right from the 1980s there, Pop.
Yeah, I was right at some point. In the Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse, you're probably perfect somewhere, and you're definitely right in some location, just not here.
Yeah, instead of doing this bit for the 100th time, I have a question. So what if someone, like, you need to borrow money, someone loans you $10,000?
It's a gift. There's X amount of dollars you can receive as a gift.
So you need...
I think it's $10,000.
Okay, so they
That's
give you
correct.
$10,000, you use that to pay off your bills, and then, like, but you don't pay taxes on that $10,000.
You don't, but you still have to report it.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Why are we trying to figure out tax questions on this show? Why?
You keep trying to steer us away from taxes, and I keep coming back.
I do everyone's
I have
taxes,
an
so
unholy
keep asking me.
thirst for the knowledge of taxes,
Jesus.
so that I can immediately forget it as soon as I walk out
Why
the
does it
door.
matter? I do your taxes.
Well, I just want to make sure you are up to snuff.
Uh-huh.
That you're on your toes. I'm going to write a fan fiction about being an IRS auditor.
You joke, but I'm sure it exists.
Is it going to be a sexy one? Are you going to be a
course, of
sexy
course, of
auditor?
He's going to say, ma'am, I believe if I'm looking at your documents correctly here, there's about a $5,000 deposit that you've yet to explain now.
Here's the most burning question, though. What fandom?
If you want to make this go away, there is a way we can work something out, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, I have regrets.
Ew, I'm not sure.
Hello.
Stop, I'm not sure, Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. Mrs. Doubtfire, if you don't want the IRS to come crashing into your home at 3 a.m, weapons drawn, then we're gonna have to work something out sexually.
I think your niche is really more podfic than fanfic, but good job.
Podfic.
Yep.
Wish that.
Oh my God.
It's a reading of fan fiction.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a podcast
So
of
you just
fan
You
fiction.
just read it out loud.
Yeah, or you can make your own. I've heard some really good. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyway,
Oh, whoa.
I've heard some really good.
really good sexual Mr.
No,
Feeney
some
fanfic.
good group ensembles is what I was gonna say. That didn't make it any better.
Really group stuff, family style. You know what
Thanks.
I mean?
Thanks, guys. I'm out. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye.
I love you, bye. A Shin Show is a production of Shinfluence. It features the voices and opinions of the Shin family, which are entirely and exclusively their own. Join us each week on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks as always to our regular listeners. We love to hear from you, so if you have a question, comment, recommendation, or idea you would like to submit to A Shin Show, please email us at ashinshow@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.